What I've been playing is my Makala MK-CE ukulele. This was my very first ukulele back in 2016 when I decided to introduce ukuleles at my school. I knew that I needed a ukulele, so over Christmas time, I ordered this model. The first one came and there was a buzz on it when I played, and at that time I couldn't figure it out, so I sent it back. And this was the replacement model that didn't buzz. And what you have from Makala is you have Kala's entry-level brand. This brand is intended to be inexpensive and a way to get people playing without spending a whole lot of money. And quite honestly, it's not a whole lot of money to Makala's next level of entry-level Kala brand, but it is a little bit cheaper. Ultimately, they're not that expensive. This one, they also make a non-electric version, but you can see it has the basic EQ kind of tone thing to high and low on the side, as well as the pickup. I added the strap buttons later to it, and it has sort of the brass frets versus the silver nickel color, and open geared tuners and everything else. Now, I've looked at this ukulele before and even compared it to two newer ones, but as I'm doing the uke guides, I decided that I wanted to just record a little bit about each one of these under that uke guide whole process. So these are about $90 new. You can find them all over for about that price, maybe a couple dollars less, and even a couple of the big name dealers, which are not necessarily big name companies, but the well-known dealers such as Mims Uke and the Uke Republic can get one of these for you. Ultimately, what you're getting is a good, solid, entry-level ukulele. There's nothing earth-shattering with it, so it's good value for the money. The price is more. Actually, you're getting more for the value than the price you're paying, because I'm not sure that, quite honestly, if you pay another $50 to $100 for a Kala, you're going to get much more than what you already get with these. The build quality is okay. It's good. It's solid. It's pretty much the build that you'll normally get from a Kala, with the only exception is the kerfing, which is that piece of wood that connects the side to the bottom, and they use one on the top as well. A lot of times that's notched and they can bend it in there. These are just the flat pieces of wood as bracing. That's really the piece that really will stick out to you as being a little less than your average Kala. And of course, you don't have the fancy finishes and other things. You have a very standard ukulele. So it's very plain. They're available everywhere, and they're okay. They're very playable. They do come with really high action, so I do suggest buying one from someone that will set it up for you. Again, Mims Uke or Ukes Republic, versus just buying offline or online, which is what I did. I'll talk about that in a second too. But yeah, if you get it set up, you'll make sure that the string height is nice and playable. And otherwise, it's not an extremely thick or deep neck. It's just, it's playable. There's nothing really hindering you from playing, nothing really helping you from playing. It's just good. And the sound quality, as you already heard in that sample, is good. It's a good sound. It's loud-ish. It's loud-ish. It's a little darker because of that laminate plywood mahogany that sort of just keeps it from being, I know, as complex as a solid wood instrument like my Koalohas, for example, which again are also dealing with other manufacturing processes and ways that the wood is braced and supported. So when you get one of these, they come with Acappella super nalget strings on them. I don't hate Acappellas. I think they're great, but I typically prefer to play with the fluorocarbon or the Acappella sugar strings. And when I switched off of the Acappellas that it came with to fluorocarbons, and these are Martin M600s, for example, available almost everywhere, I liked the tone a lot better, and I was much happier with it. And then at a later time, I switched to some nylon strings. The first time I tried pure nylon from DR, and those really didn't sound good. Just didn't bring any of that upper ring with the strings, and just were dead. And I was using the DR ones in comparison with the Aquila Kids, which are made out of the super gut. And again, I would lean towards the Kids for sure. But again, did not like this instrument with anything but a fluorocarbon string. Now, again, string choice is subjective, so if you think that you like something else, please go ahead and do so. Use what you like. Use what you like. Just a couple other things. There's really nothing visually special about this ukulele. There's no sound hole. There's no purfling around the side. There's no binding. It's very plain. In fact, on this one, if I hold it right to the light, you can see where it's even been dropped. You see it there? There's a perfect spot. It picks it up where it's been dinged up, but it's still doing just fine. And that's one of the joys about a laminate instrument, is that they're not as expensive as a solid wood instrument, and they take some abuse without falling to pieces, where if you dropped your Koloa like that, you'd have a good crack or a chunk out of it. And that's not the Koloa's fault. It's just, that's the difference between a glued particle board and solid wood, for example. And then the other thing that I just don't like about these entry-level Makalas, and I wish that they would change it both on the Dolphin and these, are they have these little plastic covers. So the geared tuner is just screwed, open geared tuners are just screwed right into the headstock, and that's how they're supported. And then to cover the hole, they put a little plastic thing on there. Now, a lot of tuners have like this screw, another screw that goes on top of there, which can also loosen up and rattle, which is why sometimes you want to buy a tool to tighten those. But what I don't like about this is that if you, again, it doesn't bother you when you're playing, but if you're doing something else, they rattle, and that's where the rattle comes from on this instrument. It's not the electronics, it's not the wires, which can happen with any electrified ukulele. Now, when I bought this, I didn't know what I was doing, quite honestly, and I just thought, well, I would like something between a soprano and a tenor, just because I don't know if I want tenor, and soprano seems like it'd be too small. In retrospect, it wasn't, but just this is my first processes when I was buying this. And then because I'm teaching, I might need to amplify it, so I better get an electric version, and that's what I did. And thankfully, it wasn't really a bad choice. Makala's a good, safe choice for a starter instrument, but it was set up. Actually, I'll put it the other way. It was not set up. It wasn't set up poorly. It just wasn't set up. And later on in my ukulele playing, I learned how to do that myself. So let's take a look at some of the specifics about it. It's obviously concert length, 14.75 inches from the nut to the saddle down here, 18 frets with side marker dots, which is kind of nice. A lot of instruments, even at that mid-level price point, don't have those, so that's nice that that's included in the Makalas. It's a normal double bout ukulele made out of laminate mahogany, sides, tops, and soundboard, side and back. It's a flat back. There's no rounding of the back. I was noticing this solid wood neck, of course, but I was noticing that there are joints here, and there's a joint there. You don't often see the joint mid-neck like that. Usually they try to hide that up in the headstock. There's a company that's talking about the benefits of their ukuleles lately, and one of the things that they say is when you have that joint in the headstock, it transmits the sound better to the ukulele. I don't know if that's true. I haven't done the studies for that, but it is interesting to see such a clear mark there. And again, you're dealing with a value-priced ukulele, so maybe that's how they save money by not merging that joint. I don't know. The fretboard on this one is rosewood. It's old enough that it's rosewood. The new ones are in walnut. And the bridge is a tie bar bridge, which means you tie through a little fancy knot. By the way, Aaron Kime just made a great video about how to connect one of these, as well as how to connect up here on the tuning pegs. And I am looking forward to trying his approach to doing that. The bridge, the saddle itself is not radius, and the nut and saddle are bone. It's not compensated at the saddle. The radius, the fretboard is not radius. It's a flat satin finish there, although it gets a little glossy where your hand might rub or while you hold it, with generic Makala open geared tuners. Nothing really special about them. I mean, they don't look terrible. Some people don't like the big ears, but whatever. I don't get too caught up in that. Overall length is 24.375 inches from tip to tail, not including the strap on that I added. And it weighs in at 1 pound, 2.3 ounces, which is lighter than some of my sopranos, which is kind of interesting. When I talk about action on one of these, I have to be honest with you and say that again, I adjusted it. So at the first fret, it's down to 0.5 millimeters, and at the 12th fret, it's a very low 2.25 millimeters. So it's very, very low action. The nut width is 34.74, so it'd be considered a 35 millimeter nut, and the space between each strings is 8.68 millimeters, so it's pretty average for soprano concert sort of ukulele tuning. At the neck, it is 20.67 millimeters deep at the 3rd fret, making it not too thick, not too wide, kind of right in the middle, but it still has that very common kind of like C shape for an imported ukulele. So with this, this one is going to be with me for a long time. It is my first official ukulele that I bought for myself, so it will hold some sentimental value even if I don't play it as much as I play my other ukuleles. And I would definitely recommend it, but again, with a couple caveats. Plan to change the strings, try to get it from a dealer who will make sure that it's set up correctly, because the action can be really high, making it really hard to play at the 1st fret, and of course that's where beginners are at the 1st fret almost all the time. So on a rating of 5 ukuleles, I give this one a 3.5. It's not a bad ukulele at all. It's a good investment. It's better than average, so 3.5 seems to be a pretty good place to put it. So I hope you enjoyed that little video about my Makala MK-CE, and we'll catch you next time.